Danny Cole was 12 years old and he had learned a long time ago that the world did not care about orphans. He lived in a place called Pine Ridge Community Home in rural Montana. It was the year 2347, and humans had spread across the stars, but this small town felt forgotten by everyone, including the galaxy itself. The orphanage was old and the walls were thin, and the heating never worked properly in winter. Mrs. Perry ran the place with 15 children, and not enough money to feed them all properly. Danny was a quiet boy with brown hair that always fell into his eyes and hands that were rough from doing chores. He did not talk much to the other children. He preferred to be alone. Every night when the others were sleeping, he would climb out of his window and walk into the forest. He had a secret spot by the creek where the moonlight came through the trees and made the water look like silver. This was the place where he felt close to his parents. His mother and father had died 3 years ago in a mining accident. His father had been a rescue worker who saved 11 people before the tunnel collapsed on him. His mother had been a nurse who ran into the danger to help her husband. They were heroes, but that did not matter to the system. Danny was processed through forms and interviews and eventually dropped at Pine Ridge like a package nobody wanted to sign for. On this particular night, Danny sat by the creek and looked up at the stars. He wondered if his parents could see him from somewhere out there. He wondered if they would be proud of him or disappointed that he had become so quiet and distant. He was thinking about these things when the sky suddenly lit up with fire. A spacecraft was falling. It was small, maybe big enough for 1 or 2 passengers, and it was spinning out of control with smoke trailing behind it. Danny watched with wide eyes as it screamed across the sky and crashed into the mountainside about 2 kilometers away. The impact made the ground shake and sent birds flying from the trees in panic. Danny stood frozen for a moment. His heart was beating fast and his hands were shaking. He knew he should run back to the orphanage and tell someone. He knew he should stay safe and let the adults handle it. But then he thought about his father running into that collapsing tunnel. He thought about his mother following right behind him. They never looked away when someone needed help. Danny started running toward the crash site. The forest was dark and full of roots that tried to trip him. Branches scratched his arms and face. He could smell smoke now, thick and chemical, not like wood smoke at all. His lungs burned, but he kept running. He had to see. He had to know if anyone was alive. The wreckage was scattered across a clearing. The spacecraft had broken into several pieces, and some of them were still glowing with heat. Danny approached carefully, covering his mouth with his sleeve to keep out the smoke. He could hear a strange humming sound coming from somewhere inside the main section of the ship. He found the pilot still strapped into the seat. It was not a human. Danny had seen aliens before on the news feeds and in educational programs at the orphanage. This one was one of the oldest species in the galaxy. They were known for their silver-blue skin and their 4 eyes and their advanced civilization that had existed for thousands of years before humans even discovered fire. This was old, very old. His skin was wrinkled and covered with darker spots. He was unconscious, and there was purple blood on his face. Danny did not hesitate. He climbed into the wreckage and started working on the straps holding the alien in place. His fingers fumbled with the unfamiliar buckles, but he figured them out eventually. The alien was heavy, but Danny was strong from years of hard work. He pulled and dragged and finally got the out of the ship and onto the grass. He had just moved them both about 20 meters away when the ship exploded. The blast knocked Danny down and filled the air with heat and debris. He covered the alien with his own body, protecting him from the falling pieces of metal. When it was over, Danny sat up and checked on the alien. He was still breathing, which seemed like a good sign. Danny did not know anything about biology, but breathing was probably important for everyone. The alien's 4 eyes opened slowly. They were gold-colored and filled with pain and confusion. He looked at Danny and tried to speak, but only a weak croak came out. He tried again, and this time Danny could understand the words in Universal Common, the language everyone in the galaxy learned. No authorities, the alien said. Please, no help, they will find me. Danny frowned. You are hurt bad, you need a doctor. No, the alien grabbed Danny's arm with surprising strength. They sabotaged my ship. They want me dead. If you call for help, they will come. They will finish what they started. Please, young one, I am begging you. Danny looked at the burning wreckage and then back at the desperate alien. He thought about the system that had failed him after his parents died. He thought about how the authorities had treated him like a number instead of a person. He did not know this alien story, but he understood what it felt like to have nobody to trust. Okay, Danny said. I know a place, an old cabin in the woods. Nobody goes there anymore. Can you walk? The alien tried to stand, but his legs gave out immediately. Danny caught him before he could fall. I will help you, Danny said. Lean on me. It took them 2 hours to reach the cabin. The alien was heavy, and Danny had to stop many times to rest. The alien drifted in and out of consciousness, sometimes muttering in a language Danny did not recognize. When they finally reached the cabin, Danny laid the alien on the old bed inside and covered him with dusty blankets. Rest now, Danny said. I will come back tomorrow with food and medicine, I promise. The alien looked at him with those 4 golden eyes. Why are you helping me? You do not know me. You owe me nothing. Danny shrugged. My father always said that helping others is the only real wealth a person can have. I do not have money or a family or anything like that, but I can help you, so I will. The alien stared at him for a long moment. Something changed in his expression, something Danny could not quite read. Then the alien closed his eyes and fell into an exhausted sleep. Danny slipped out of the cabin and began the long walk back to the orphanage. He did not know that somewhere in space, a dozen ships were already searching for the missing alien. He did not know that the alien he had just saved was one of the most important beings in the entire galaxy. He only knew that someone needed help, and he had chosen not to look away. 3 days had passed since the crash and Danny had fallen into a dangerous routine. He would wake up before the other children, steal food from the kitchen, and sneak out to the cabin in the woods. He would spend an hour or 2 with the alien, checking his wounds and making sure he had water to drink. Then he would run back to the orphanage in time for morning attendance. The alien's name was. He had told Danny this on the 2nd day when his fever had gone down enough for him to speak properly. He was 312 years old, which made Danny's head spin when he tried to imagine living that long. Had silver blue skin that was turning gray in places because of his injuries. His 4 eyes watched Danny with constant suspicion, as if he was waiting for the boy to betray him. You brought me bread again, said when Danny arrived on the 3rd morning. Do humans eat nothing else? It is what I could take without anyone noticing, Danny said. The kitchen lady counts everything else. Made a sound that might have been a laugh or might have been a cough. On my world, servants bring me fresh delicacies from 12 different planets. I have not eaten bread in 200 years. Well, today you are eating bread, Danny said, unless you want to starve. Took the bread and ate it slowly. His movements were weak and his hands trembled. The wound on his head had stopped bleeding, but it still looked bad. Danny had cleaned it with water and covered it with strips of cloth torn from an old shirt. He did not know if he was doing the right things, but he was doing his best. Why do you keep helping me? Asked. I have offered you nothing. I have promised you nothing. In my society, no one does anything without expecting something in return. This is how civilization works. Danny sat down on the floor across from the bed. Maybe your civilization is different from mine. Different how? I do not know. I just know that when I see someone hurting, I want to help them. My parents were like that too. My father ran into a collapsing mine to save strangers. My mother followed him. They did not think about what they would get in return. They just saw people who needed help. Was quiet for a long moment. And where are your parents now? Dead, the mine collapsed on them. I see, looked away, so their kindness killed them. Danny felt anger rise in his chest. No, their kindness saved 11 people. Those people went home to their families because of my parents. My parents died as heroes. And what did you receive for their heroism? A medal, a fortune, a comfortable life. I received nothing, Danny admitted. I was sent to an orphanage. Nobody wanted me. Turned back to look at him. And yet you still help strangers, even after the universe has given you nothing but pain. I do not understand you, young human. Danny shrugged. Maybe there is nothing to understand. Maybe I am just doing what feels right. That night's condition got worse. Danny arrived at the cabin to find the alien shaking with fever, his silver-blue skin now pale and covered with sweat. The wound on his head had become infected, was mumbling in his native language, words that meant nothing to Danny but sounded desperate and afraid. Danny knew he needed medicine. Real medicine, not bread and water and torn cloth. The only place to get medicine in Pine Ridge was the town's medical station. It was small and poorly guarded, but taking anything from there would be considered theft. If Danny was caught, he would be sent to a juvenile facility far away from here. He would lose everything, not that he had much to begin with. He thought about dying alone in this cabin. He thought about his father running into that mine. Danny made his decision. Breaking into the medical station was easier than he expected. The window in the back was old and the lock was rusted. Danny squeezed through and found himself in a room full of supplies. He did not know which medicines would work on an alien body, so he took everything that looked important. Antibiotics, painkillers, bandages, and a small device that seemed to measure temperature. He was almost out when he heard footsteps. Danny pressed himself against the wall and held his breath. The footsteps passed by and faded away. He waited another minute and then escaped through the same window he had entered. Back at the cabin, Danny gave the antibiotics. He did not know the proper dose, so he guessed based on body weight. He stayed by the alien's side all night, wiping the sweat from his face and talking to him when the fever dreams became too intense. My father used to tell me stories when I was sick, Danny said. He would sit by my bed and talk about his adventures. He said that the sound of a friendly voice was the best medicine in the universe. His eyes were closed, but Danny kept talking anyway. He told me about the time he rescued a whole family from a flooding river. He said the youngest child, a little girl, held onto his neck so tight that she left bruises. He said those bruises were the best gift he ever received because they meant he had saved someone who really wanted to live. Danny paused and wiped his eyes. He had not talked about his father this much since the funeral. I miss him, Danny whispered. I miss both of them. Sometimes I feel so alone that I think I might disappear and no one would even notice. His hand moved slowly and found Danny's arm. The grip was weak, but it was there. I notice, said his voice barely a whisper. I see you, young one. By morning, the fever had broken, was still weak, but the color was returning to his skin. He looked at Danny with different eyes now. The suspicion was gone, replaced by something that looked like respect. You stayed with me all night, said. You risked your freedom to get me medicine. You talked to me when I was lost in the darkness. It was nothing, Danny said. No, shook his head slowly. It was everything. In 300 years of life, I have met thousands of people. Politicians, businessmen, royalty from a dozen worlds. None of them have ever shown me kindness without expecting payment. You are the first. Danny did not know what to say, so he said nothing. That evening, back at the orphanage, Danny was watching the news with the other children when a story came on that made his blood run cold. The Galactic Authority was searching for a missing elder of extreme importance. The holographic image they showed was unmistakable. It was. Danny ran through the forest faster than he had ever run before. Branches whipped his face and roots grabbed at his feet, but he did not slow down. The news report kept playing in his mind. Important elder, galaxy-wide search, extreme importance. What had he gotten himself into? When he burst through the cabin door, was sitting up in bed eating the last of the bread Danny had brought that morning. He looked stronger now, almost healthy, but his 4 golden eyes narrowed when he saw Danny's expression. "Something has happened," said. "I saw you on the news." Danny was breathing hard, trying to catch his breath. "They said you are an important elder. They said the whole galaxy is looking for you. What is going on? Who are you really?" "Set down the bread." For a long moment he said nothing. Then he sighed, and it was the heaviest sigh Danny had ever heard. "I suppose you deserve the truth," said. "Sit down, young one. This will take some time to explain." Danny sat on the floor, his heart still racing. "My full name is. I am the founder and chairman of the Consortium, one of the largest trading companies in the known galaxy. We operate in over 2,000 star systems. We employ billions of workers across hundreds of worlds." Danny stared at him. "You are rich." "Rich does not begin to describe it. My personal wealth exceeds the gross domestic product of most planetary systems. I have more money than some civilizations have in their entire treasury." Danny felt dizzy. He had been bringing bread to a billionaire. He had been teaching first aid to someone who could probably buy the entire planet Earth if he wanted to. "Why did you not tell me?" Danny asked. "Because I needed to know if your kindness was real," leaned forward. "All my life, people have been kind to me because of my money. They smile at me because they want something. They help me because they expect rewards. I have not experienced genuine kindness in over 200 years. When you pulled me from that wreckage and asked for nothing, I did not believe it. I thought you must have some hidden motive." "I do not have any motives," Danny said, his voice rising with anger. "I am just a kid. I saw someone who was hurt and I helped them. That is all." "I know that now." His voice was gentle. "I tested you, Danny. I watched how you treated me when you thought I was nobody. I watched you risk everything to bring me medicine. I watched you stay by my side all night just to keep me company. You are perhaps the most genuinely good person I have ever met." Danny did not feel good. He felt confused and a little betrayed. "You should have told me the truth." "You are right, I apologize. In my world, trust is a weakness that others exploit. I have forgotten how to give it freely." Paused. "But I am trusting you now. I am telling you everything." "Okay," Danny said slowly. "Then tell me why people are trying to kill you." His expression darkened. "My grandson. His name is. He has been trying to have me declared mentally unfit so that he can seize control of the consortium. When legal methods failed, he decided to take more direct action." "He sabotaged your ship." "Yes. He hired assassins to tamper with the navigation system. The ship was supposed to crash into a star. The fact that I survived at all is a miracle." Touched the wound on his head. "I managed to regain partial control and steered toward the nearest inhabited planet. I chose this remote location because I hoped to hide while I figured out my next move." "Can you not just call for help? You must have security people or something." "I do not know who I can trust. Has spent years placing his people throughout my organization. Any call for help could reach his ears first. He would send assassins instead of rescue." Danny thought about this. "But you cannot hide forever. You are hurt and old and the whole galaxy is looking for you." "There is one person I trust. Her name is Commander Paul. She has worked for me for 60 years and I know she is loyal. If I could reach her, she could bring forces to protect me and expose plot." "How do you reach her?" "I need a secure communication relay. A direct connection that cannot be intercepted. There is an old communications tower left over from the early colony days about 30 kilometers from here. If I can modify it, I can send a signal directly to on a frequency only she knows." Danny nodded slowly. "Then we need to get you to that tower." Looked surprised. "You would still help me, even now that you know who I am." "Why would that change anything?" "Because now you know there could be a reward. You could be wealthy beyond your wildest dreams. Most people would start making demands at this point. Danny felt that anger rise again. I do not want your money. I never wanted anything from you. I helped you because it was the right thing to do. That is still true. Stared at him for a long moment. Then slowly, his 4 eyes began to glisten with moisture. Danny had not known that could cry. In 300 years, whispered, I have never met anyone like you. There are lots of humans like me, Danny said. You just have not met them because you live in a world full of people who only care about money. Wiped his eyes. Perhaps you are right. Perhaps I have been living in the wrong world. They spent the next hour making plans. Danny knew the forest better than anyone, and he could guide them to the communications tower. The journey would take at least 2 days on foot, longer if injuries slowed them down. They would need food and water and warm clothing for the nights. We should leave tomorrow morning, Danny said. I will gather supplies tonight. Danny reached out and took the boy's hand. Thank you, not for agreeing to help me reach the tower. Thank you for being angry with me. Thank you for seeing me as a person instead of a fortune. You cannot imagine how lonely it is to be valued only for what you own. Danny squeezed his hand. Everyone deserves to be seen, even billionaires. That night, Danny returned to the orphanage with his mind full of plans and his heart full of determination. He did not notice the 2 strangers in town who were asking questions about unusual. He did not see the woman with cold eyes who was watching the orphanage from across the street. Agents had arrived in Pine Ridge. The agents called themselves investigators from the Galactic Authority. They wore official-looking uniforms and carried impressive credentials. Their leader was a woman named who smiled too much and asked too many questions. She told the people of Pine Ridge that they were searching for a dangerous fugitive who had crashed nearby. Danny heard all of this from Mrs. Perry at breakfast. The caretaker was excited by the visitors, happy that something interesting was finally happening in their forgotten little town. They are offering rewards, Mrs. Perry told the children. Good money for any information about strange or unusual activity. Danny kept his eyes on his plate and said nothing. Actually, Mrs. Perry continued, looking directly at Danny, they asked about you specifically. They wanted to know why you have been sneaking out at night. Danny's blood went cold. I just like walking in the forest. There is nothing strange about that. That is what I told them, but they seemed very interested. Mrs. Perry frowned. Danny, if you know something, you should tell them. These are important people. They could help you get into a better situation than this orphanage. I do not know anything, Danny said. He finished his breakfast as quickly as possible and slipped out through the back door. He needed to warn. They needed to leave immediately. Danny was halfway to the forest when he saw them. 3 figures in dark clothing were heading toward the woods with scanning equipment. They were moving in the direction of the old cabin. Danny ducked behind a building and watched them pass. The woman named was leading them. Up close, her smile looked wrong somehow, like a mask covering something dangerous underneath. Danny took a different route through the forest, one he knew from years of exploration. He ran faster than he had ever run, his lungs burning and his legs aching. He reached the cabin just minutes before the agents would have arrived. We have to go, Danny gasped, bursting through the door. They are coming, they have scanning equipment. Did not waste time asking questions. He was already weak, but he forced himself to stand. Danny grabbed the small bag of supplies he had prepared and helped out the back window of the cabin. They disappeared into the thick brush just as voices approached from the other direction. The trail leads here, Danny heard someone say. Search the building. Danny and moved as quietly as they could through the undergrowth. Was slow, and every step seemed to cause him pain, but he did not complain. They traveled for an hour before Danny felt safe enough to stop and rest. They found the cabin, Danny said. They will know someone was living there. They will start searching the whole forest. Then we must keep moving, was breathing heavily. His face was pale and covered with sweat. "How far to the communications tower?" "At least 25 kilometers from here, through rough terrain." Closed his eyes. "I am not sure I can make it, Danny." "You can." Danny took the old alien's hand. "We will go slowly. We will rest when we need to, but we will make it. I am not leaving you behind." They traveled through the day and into the night. Danny used every trick he knew to hide their trail. He walked them through streams to mask their scent. He chose rocky ground whenever possible to avoid leaving footprints. He found hidden paths that only someone who had spent years exploring these woods would know. During one of their rest stops, asked Danny a question that had clearly been bothering him. "Why do you keep doing this? The danger grows greater every hour. These people will not hesitate to hurt you if they catch us. Why risk your life for someone you barely know?" Danny was quiet for a moment, then he spoke. "When my parents died, nobody came to help me. I was just another orphan being processed through the system. Nobody asked if I was okay. Nobody asked what I needed. I was given a bed in a crowded room and told to be grateful for it." He paused, remembering those terrible first weeks after the funeral. "I made a promise to myself. I said that if I ever had the chance to help someone, I would take it. I would be the person that nobody was for me. I would see people when nobody else saw them." Looked at him with those 4 golden eyes. "You are a remarkable human, Danny Cole." "I am just doing what my parents taught me." They kept moving through the second day. Was getting weaker and Danny had to support more and more of his weight. The communications tower was still kilometers away and the agents were closing in. Danny could hear drones in the distance, scanning the forest with infrared sensors. "They will find us soon," said. "Their technology is better than your knowledge of these woods." "Then we need to move faster." "I cannot." Stopped walking. "Danny, listen to me. You should leave, save yourself. There is no reason for you to die because of me." "I am not leaving you." "Be reasonable. My life is almost over anyway. I am old. I have lived 300 years. You have your whole future ahead of you." Danny turned to face him. "My father could have left those people in the mine. My mother could have stayed safe outside. They did not. They ran toward the danger because that is what good people do. I am not going to dishonor their memory by running away now." Had no response to that. They reached the communications tower just as the sun was setting. It was old and rusted and covered with vines, but said the core components were still functional. He began working on the equipment while Danny kept watch. An hour passed. Then 2. Danny could hear voices getting closer. He could see flashlight beams cutting through the darkness between the trees. "How much longer?" Danny whispered. "Almost there, just a few more minutes." But they did not have a few more minutes. Agent stepped into the clearing with a weapon pointed directly at Danny. Behind her, 2 more agents emerged from the shadows. "That is quite enough," said. Her smile was gone now, replaced by something cold and professional. "Step away from the equipment, both of you." Danny stepped forward, putting himself between and, "Leave him alone." Laughed. "Brave little human. Do you know how much is paying us? Enough to buy this entire planet. Do you think your bravery matters against that kind of money?" "I do not care about money." "Obviously," raised her weapon. "Step aside or I will shoot through you to get to him." Danny did not move. "Last chance," said. Her finger tightened on the trigger. And then emerged from behind the equipment, his hands raised in surrender. "Stop," said. "Do not hurt the boy. I will come with you, just leave him alone." Smiled again. "That is what I thought you would say." Walked toward with her weapon raised, savoring her victory. Her 2 agents kept their guns trained on Danny, making sure he could not interfere. Everything had gone according to plan. Would be pleased. 300 years of life, said 2, and it ends in a forest on a backwater planet betrayed by your own grandson. There is a lesson in that somewhere. "The lesson," said calmly, is that you should never underestimate an old man. Frowned, what does that mean? The sky exploded with light. 3 massive spacecraft dropped through the clouds, their engines roaring like thunder. Spotlights illuminated the entire clearing, and suddenly there were soldiers everywhere, surrounding and her agents before they could even think about running. Danny watched in amazement as a tall woman in a military uniform approached. She had 3 eyes instead of 4, and her skin was darker blue than's. She walked past without even looking at her and went straight to. "Chairman," she said, bowing her head, "you signaled for help. I came as quickly as I could." Smiled, "Commander Paul, I knew I could count on you." Danny suddenly understood. While he had been standing between and the equipment had finished sending his message, the surrender had been a trick to buy time until help arrived. Realized it too. She tried to run, but the soldiers caught her within seconds. Her agents were already on the ground with their hands behind their heads. "Take them to the ships," Commander Paul ordered. "We will need their testimony against." As the agents were led away, turned back to look at Danny, her eyes were full of hatred. "This is not over, human. Has resources you cannot imagine." Commander Paul said coldly, "Was arrested 3 hours ago on charges of attempted murder and corporate fraud. His assets have been frozen. His allies have abandoned him. He will spend the rest of his very long life in prison." His face went pale. She had nothing left to say. After the prisoners were taken away, turned to Danny. The old alien looked tired, but his eyes were bright with emotion. "You saved my life," said. "When you stood in front of that weapon, ready to die to protect me, you proved something that I had forgotten was possible. You proved that true courage exists, that true kindness exists, that some people in this universe care about others simply because it is right." Danny did not know what to say. "I just did what anyone would do." "No," shook his head. "You did what very few would do, and that is why I want to offer you something." "I told you, I do not want your money." "I know, that is why I am not offering you money." Took a deep breath. "Danny, I want to help you. Whatever you need, whatever you want, I will provide it. Education on any world you choose, a home anywhere in the galaxy, a position in my company when you are old enough. Name it and it is yours." Danny thought about this. He thought about all the things he had dreamed of over the years, a real family, a place to belong, a chance to make something of himself, was offering all of it. But then he thought about the other children at Pine Ridge. He thought about how alone they felt, how forgotten, how invisible to a galaxy that did not care about orphans. "I want one thing," Danny said. "Name it." "Help the orphanage. Not just Pine Ridge, but all of them on all the human colony worlds. Make it so that no child has to feel the way I felt. Make it so that when kids lose their parents, they are not just processed through a system. They are seen. They are cared for. They are given a chance." Stared at him. For a moment, he seemed unable to speak. Then tears began to flow from his 4 golden eyes. "In 300 years," whispered, "I have built an empire. I have accumulated wealth beyond measure. I have been called one of the most powerful beings in the galaxy. And yet I have never, not once, thought to use my power for something like this. I thought only of growing my fortune, protecting my legacy, expanding my influence. A human child had to teach me what wealth is truly for." He reached out and placed his hands on Danny's shoulders. "I will do what you ask. I will establish a foundation in honor of your parents. The Cole Foundation will fund orphan support programs across human space. We will build schools and homes and provide every resource these children need. This I promise you." Danny smiled. "That is all I wanted. But I want to give you something else too." His voice was serious. "I want to adopt you, Danny, not as a servant or a ward, as my grandson, as my heir. Prove that blood does not make family. You prove that character does. I would be honored if you would accept." Danny felt tears in his own eyes now. "You want me to be your family?" I want you to be my family, and I want to be yours. We have both been alone for too long." Danny thought about his parents. He thought about what they would want for him, and he knew the answer. "Yes," Danny said, "I accept." The news spread across the galaxy within days. The story of a human orphan who saved a billionaire and asked for nothing in return captured the hearts of billions. People who had never thought about humans before started seeing them differently. Here was a species that produced children like Danny Cole. Perhaps humans were more remarkable than anyone had realized. The Cole Foundation was established within a month. Within a year, it was operating in every human colony, transforming the lives of thousands of orphans. Mrs. Perry from Pine Ridge became one of its first directors, finally given the resources she had always needed to properly care for her children. 10 years passed. Danny grew into a young man. He studied at the finest universities in the galaxy and learned everything could teach him about business and leadership. But he never forgot where he came from. He spent most of his time working with the Foundation, visiting orphanages, meeting children who reminded him of himself. On the 10th anniversary of that night in the forest, Danny stood on the observation deck of the consortium headquarters. Below them, ships from 100 worlds came and went, carrying goods and people and possibilities across the stars. "What do you see?" asked. Danny looked out at the endless expanse of space. He thought about all the children out there who felt alone. He thought about all the people who needed help but had no one to turn to. "I see a lot of people who might need help someday," Danny said. Smiled, it was a warm smile, full of pride and love. "Then let us help them," said, "together." Danny nodded. He had started this journey as a forgotten orphan with nothing but the lessons his parents had taught him. Now, he had the resources to make those lessons real for the entire galaxy. His father had been right all along. Helping others was the only real wealth, and Danny Cole intended to be the richest person in the universe.